This is the Falco HX500 in a rear wheel configuration, and it's actually using a triple drive setup. And so what that means is there's a pedelec crank sensor in here. You can't see it too well, but there's 12 magnets, so it's pretty responsive. There's a torque sensor built right into the motor, and there's a twist throttle. So this is really, you're kind of getting everything. They do sell it just the motor and battery, torque sensor. You could get the motor and battery and a throttle. You could get, cadence sensor. There's just a bunch of ways to set this up, and that's really neat, because each bike is a little bit different. In this case, we've got it on a hard rock specialized sort of a mountain bike setup, and it's great to have the motor in the rear. You're going to get better traction, and the torque sensor is great if you're riding on a trail like that. Maybe a little bit more complex to set up with the chains and the chain rings, but Falco offers this kit with a 20-inch, 24, 26, and 700C 29er rims that are actually pretty cool. So these are sort of German-made, a little bit higher quality, meant to be rugged. So there's sort of angled and dimpled holes here. You can see them, how that one's kind of coming off this way, one's coming off that way. And that is meant to just really align the force and the extra weight of the motor with where it's mounted on the rim and then where it connects to the motor. And here's a spoke. Hopefully you can see this all right. Their spokes are pretty cool. It's actually a little bit fatter at the end where it connects with the motor, and that's meant to provide some extra support so that the weight of the motor doesn't bend or mess those spokes up. And what's really cool is they have a whole range of rims, so 20-inch, 24, 26, and then this is sort of 29, or the 700C rim. So with this kit, you're getting a 500-watt direct drive gearless hub motor, again, front or rear. And what that gives you is just a smooth, quiet ride. It doesn't offer quite as much torque as like a geared design, and it's a little bit heavier, but I've been pretty impressed. This is a slim motor, and being gearless, it just has these big magnets inside and a stator, which is like a piece of metal that gets electrified, and that basically current is what's repelling the magnets and driving you forward. And so there aren't very many moving parts in there that are going to wear out over time versus like a geared design. And one of the drawbacks is that there can be cogging, which is as you're just coasting, the magnets are still passing that stator, but if you're not electrifying the stator, basically it's still repelling and you're getting a little bit of resistance. But they've done a really good job sort of reducing that here. So I'm going to spin the wheel and just give you an idea. You can see there's a little bit of resistance, but the other cool thing that they've got on these systems is Regeneration Mode. So anytime you're not pedaling, you're not throttling, basically just coasting, it actually, and the system is on, it actually sends electricity, that little bit of electricity back, and it charges. And they do actually have 5 levels of regen mode. So instead of just trickling electricity back, you can actually really regenerate it and use this as like an engine brake to slow you down on a hill. And that's cool because it's going to save your wrists and hands from squeezing on the brakes. It's going to save your brake pads a little bit. It's just neat. It's a fancier system. I think that Bionics has that kind of thing. There are a couple electric bikes out there that do it, but this is a higher end kit, and it's neat that they offer that. So while we're on the topic, this is a lithium ion battery, sort of that high-end technology, lithium manganese cobalt, and it's got 36 volts of power, 11.6 amp hours of capacity. That's a little bit above average, so a little bit larger in terms of the range that you might get. It weighs about 5 pounds. This motor, the HX500, weighs about 9 pounds. So the whole kit, all things together, you're a little bit under 15 pounds. The controller setup on this one, again, sort of optional depending on how you get it. We've got a twist throttle set up right here, and we've got basically a breakout switch so that as you're riding, you can control what level of assist you're on. And the display is pretty cool too. It's adjustable, kind of got it's a little like quick release lever. Depending on the thickness of your handlebars, you might have to really tighten it down. It doesn't feel quite as secure as some others, but I love that it's removable just so you don't have to leave it out in the elements. The other really unique thing is that it's wireless. So you'll notice there's just one wire here, and that's sending signals back to this wireless receiver that could be mounted here or here on your chain stays, on your seat stays, kind of wherever, and it's going to communicate with that system. That's neat if you had like a tandem bicycle or a recumbent or something. You don't have to run quite as many wires around. Now you do, of course, have to connect the motor to the battery with a wire, so I think this is almost more for the benefit of being modular than really, you know, the whole wireless thing. So these are some of the other pieces you'd get with a Falco kit, and I just wanted to call them out. This is your standard 36-volt wall charger, and it, you know, you just plug it in to a standard outlet, and that's what charges the battery. I mentioned you can charge it on or off the bike pretty easily, about 5 pounds. Of course, the wireless sort of a LCD console also has a battery. Here's an example of what that looks like. It's lithium ion, and you know, you probably end up charging this thing once every couple weeks, and it's got its own little charger, so you know, almost looks like a cell phone charger or something like that. So you know, you can keep this thing going, and then at some point, if that ever dies, you know, probably a few years out, they do have replacements. So everything here is sort of modular. The display is backlit, and it shows you just a number of different options, your speed and odometer, that kind of thing, and then of course your assist level. So right now we're in +5. You can arrow down to 0, and you don't get anything, including twist throttle, which, you know, it might be kind of nice to get that. You go down further and you can go to like the -5 mode, and that's really that's the engine brake. In fact, here, let me show you. See it? It's kind of catching and sending some of that electricity back. So all in all, I like that you've got sort of the mid-mounted battery. The battery is removable, the display is removable. You can do a front or rear wheel. It's got torque sensing, it's got cadence sensing, and you can unlock it. So this can go a little bit faster. When you do have it in speed limit mode, I've noticed that there's just a cliff. It's like a voltage cliff where you're going, it's like, and it just cuts off. And that's a little bit jerkier than I'd like. And that's just to comply with the laws. So when I'm riding it, I've been a little bit more sensitive on how I use the throttle as I approach those higher speeds. When you unlock it and go in full speed mode, man, it just goes. It's really fast and pretty powerful. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop on and give you some idea of what I just shared there and what it feels like in action. The display goes to sleep when it's not being used, and then as soon as you move the bike or as soon as you press any of these buttons, it lights back up, which is cool. As soon as I start pedaling, I'm going to get that assistance. Now I'm going to do the throttle, and you're going to see how it kind of hits. We hit 20 miles per hour, and then it just lurches to sort of lets out. There we go. So we're almost at 20. So hopefully you can see that. It's basically, we're going up to 20 miles per hour, and it's like, and then it coasts, you know, and it slows down. It goes, and that's to honor the speed limit settings, but frankly, it'd be nice if that was a little bit smoother. I'm going to unlock it now, so you just press the plus and minus, and it goes into cruise mode. So now I can go really fast if I want to. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Here we go. 23 miles per hour, 24 miles per hour, and I let off and it's in regen mode now. Just sort of coasting efficiently, but getting some of that electricity back at the same time. Woohoo! Oh boy, a lot of fun. If you are going to ride it faster, make sure you're on private property or kind of an off-road environment like that. Otherwise, you'll be breaking the law and you might have insurance issues, that kind of thing. One thing is, you know, the throttle overrides the pedal assist, so at any time you can throttle up, even if you're in a lower pedal X speed. So that's kind of cool. You know, if I take this down to level 1 and pedaling, I'm only getting a little bit of assistance, right? And that's going to extend my battery. But then if I twist throttle, there we go. There's the power again. So that's neat. I like when you can override. And they do offer a twist throttle or a trigger throttle, which is pretty cool. Woo! So yeah, that's the Falco HX500. A really versatile kit, definitely higher end with the regen braking, the front, the back wheel, the different sized wheels, the wireless LCD computer console backlit, the mid-frame battery. I mean, you've just got, there's just a huge range of options. And even the fact that it measures, you know, the torque separately, your torque separately from the motor. So it's a pretty sophisticated system. I also like that it's black. For more on this and other electric bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.